2 weeks, right? Welcome to my living room. My name is 𝐿𝐻𝐿𝐻, and I am here to uplift, support, inspire, and hopefully that empowers you to be the best version of you are meant to be. I'm just here to spark that inner spark within you. For you, I am here special. I'm here to activate the supreme power in you to reign in your life. Like the royalty that you truly are. It is in your blood. It is in your veins. It is in every cell of your beingness. Once you're in your wholeness. Especially right now with this crazy time. Are you feeling it? What are you feeling? Where are you feeling it? What does that feel like? Because feeling is revealing what we're all going through collectively. Because you know this is a collective collaboration. There is no you without me and me without you. We are going through this through and through with one another and each other. Whether we see each other or not, we affect each other. Because we are energy, frequency, vibration, and it ripples out. The collective consciousness literally is a stream of consciousness. It is literally energy in fluid motion. There is no separation, there is no divide. We just have this mind over matter that creates the form. So what we place our mind on, we turn into matter, which is form. Physical, tangible, looks like it's separate. It has a form, but it only has a form because we agreed upon it. We have a collective agreement. We have a collective collaboration. We created this. We came here to do this. Boy, it's gotten so confusing, convoluted. We got too serious along the way. We stopped forgetting, remembering. We forgot to play. Because when this started, there was more joy. There was more play. There was the childlike nature within all of us, because that is our true nature. Our nature is to nurture. Our nature is not combativeness. It's collaboration. So happy full moon in Capricorn. You know, Capricorn has the horns. You know, let's get serious. My moon is in Capricorn. This one's hitting me hard. Hey, it caught me by surprise. I'm sure there's many of you out there feeling like you've been maybe knocked off your kilter, off of your balance, and maybe even come to some realizations. Realizations, seeing with real eyes. Do you recognize, meaning cognizant, mindful, mental. And then embodiment, feeling, embracing and really being in your state, your physical, like this is the matter. What's the matter? It's my mind. The mind is creating all this matter. It's creating all of this trauma. It's drama. It is what creates and brings to form. Because the mind is a builder and it needs to stay busy. So it takes all the thoughts, it takes them and constructs, stories. The mind is a builder. It will take whatever you put in there and spit out a story. Because the mind feels like it needs to do something to stay alive. Staying alive, staying alive. Hey, ha, 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 staying alive, the mind. It's making matter. Because where attention goes, energy flows, and that mind doesn't even know anything but what you have already experienced in this life. So it's collecting all this information based on your 5 senses. You take in data through your 5 senses, through your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, and your spidey sense. 5 senses. As you take in that information, you're not only having a physiological experience, a physical experience, an emotional experience, and a spiritual experience, but it's a mental experience, which in essence is just the observer. It's the witness. And then when the mind gets involved with the thoughts around how things look based on previous experiences and perceptions and stories and belief systems that it is, has it in its database, it starts to evaluate. It wants to create the story around what's happening. It constantly wants to put things in boxes. It wants to collate, label, keep things organized, keep you safe. And sometimes in the doing of this, it protects us to the point where we don't have the same experience that we would normally have without its interference. We are here for experience. We're not here to label or judge them. But that's where the mind gets involved. And that's the matter. What's the matter? The mind, it has some fuckery involved with it. The mind can create a fuckery, a trauma, a drama based on your past. If it's unresolved, you haven't confronted it, the mind will find a way for you to be confronted by it, conscious or unconscious. Your conscious is the captain of your ship. It is the driver. The unconscious, ooh, it's a deeper, like, push on that conscious. So it's the hidden stuff. It's the shadow stuff. Because we all have a light and a dark. We all have, you can't have one without the other. The yin and the yang. The plus and the minus. It is all part of us. So what's the matter? The mind gets involved. It doesn't know when to let off unless you train it. Because if you're mindful, then you can be in awareness of it. If you're meditating, becoming conscious of it, then you're able to be in awareness of its patterns. Because there is a script constantly going. There is a record playing. There is a program in the background. We're no different than computers. Like I said, we take in data through 5 senses. And then we store it in our data bank, in this mind. And the mind will pick and choose and decide upon what gets triggered in you, what has been resolved, what is unresolved, what needs attention, inner child too, and all the other versions of you. The mind will take that information and try to make sense of it. The irony, the mind has no touch, no smell, no sight, no hearing, no tasting. It's kind of a paradox that the mind can be it can be the wonderful observer. It can observe from that space, but yet it doesn't experience it. It just sees without eyes. The mind is navigating. So this is why it's so important to become mindful and know what your mind is full of. Because if you don't know what's in your mind, you don't know what's in the background in your data bank, well, stuff will spill out. And I have this theory around unresolved trauma, your inner child. When you neglect your inner child will energetically pull people into your life that says, if you don't give me attention and we don't resolve the situation, I'm going to pull in a third party so that we can play it out. We can rehash it, re-experience it, something similar to it, because I'm still trying to have closure. I'm still having to solve my issues. And our issues are in our tissues. The physical body will store the trauma and it will manifest deeper into dis-ease until you address it. What we suppress will express until we address it. It's all connected. You can't have one without the other. So, drawing in that third party, it's like, people will say, oh, we have a connection. there's energy between us. There's a spark. Typically, when you have chemistry with somebody, it's a revisiting of something familiar. So if you have chemistry with somebody, I encourage you, I implore you to just take a step back and observe, what about it is so familiar? What does it remind you of? What memories does it invoke in you? Where do you feel it? What does it feel like? Tingles, butterflies, like, ooh. Because a lot of the time when you're so numbed out to your traumas and your dramas, you're seeking the excitement. It's almost like you are numb to the point where you need stimulation because, as I will also point out, when you numb the joy, you numb the pain, you numb the joy. So when people are in avoidance of their traumas, their unhealed, unresolved issues, it gets to the point where you're seeking out excitement. This is addiction. This is the addictive cycle. This is essentially what causes addiction, is when you don't feel excitement, you feel numbed out to it, you will seek out, conscious or unconscious, excitement exacerbated, amplified, extremism. You will seek out things that really like, oh my God, this is so exciting. It's like the pendulum swinging. It's either it rains or it's dry, pouring, or it's a desert. You know what I'm saying? Does that ring a bell for anybody? Please let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from, if any of this is resonating with you. So if you're numbed out to your pain, what makes you think you're going to feel your joy? So you're going to look for something that's extreme to stimulate you, because by numbing that pain, you have, in essence, have also numbed out that joy. This is why people chase highs in addictive cycles, because they need something to bring them back to life because they've numbed out from life. That's what's the matter, is again, the mind got involved and said, we're going to protect you. We're going to use ways to avoid feeling that pain by seeking extreme pleasure. Because if we go on the other extreme, then we don't see what's over there. It's, cognitive dissonance. The little child who says, I don't see you, you don't exist, you don't exist. Again, the more you resist, the more it will persist, the more it will show up in your life. And it is a vicious cycle. And only you can end the cycle by choice. What you avoid will continue to show up in your life until you confront it and give yourself permission to feel it, like really be with it, be okay with it. Like ask yourself, at what point did I consider this and decide this was so bad that I couldn't even look at it? Because that is an aspect of yourself that you are denying, you are avoiding, and you yourself are abandoning and rejecting. Which, what does that do? What you do to yourself, someone else will do unto you too. How you treat yourself is the permission you're giving others to do and treat you. So if you are rejecting and abandoning yourself and wondering, why do people abandon and reject me? You have to confront that aspect in you that you are doing it to yourself. Speaking from personal experience, just saying that this is how I know. I don't just say it because it's a theory. It's because I embody it, because I've lived it. I was a runner. It's a metaphor from running away from things too. If you don't want to be confronted by something, the irony is you will continually be confronted. So when you don't confront it within yourself, somebody else will confront it in you, and you'll act like you're the victim of the other person, when in reality, it's an aspect in you you don't want to look at. So when someone else brings it up, you get angry with them as a result of you not owning it in yourself. What we own in ourselves, nobody can take us under, if you know what I mean. If you own your shit, nobody can hold it against you. And not only that, but when you own your own shit, your shit won't be showing, and your life won't be a shit show. It's really that simple. Is it that poetic? It can be messy. We are a bunch of monkeys out here flinging our shit at one another, expecting the other person to meet our unresolved and unmet childhood needs, assuming they should know better. This is the human element. This is the irony of what is going on in the world. And that's one of my theories right now around the fact that what's going on, especially right now, is we are seeing the collective wounds playing out in front of us, all around us. You can use any example, and I'm not even going to go into anything specific, but how your internal world handles the external world is so important. If you're not dealing with the internals, it will show up in your externals. If you're not willing to go within, you will go without. Guaranteed. Without, meaning outside of yourself, as well as grasping for seams because you can't understand what it is that's missing. What is missing? What is missing is being fully present to all of it. Stop labeling it as good or bad. Stop putting it in boxes and dismissing it, because those are aspects of yourself. The things that you don't want others to see in you, those are just as beautiful as the things you want them to see too. They're two halves of your whole. And until you own it all, you won't be able to own anything at all. Like what you desire, you also have to recognize, do I really feel I deserve that? You can say all along, I want this, but maybe you have a demoting belief system around not being worthy of it, not feeling like you could achieve it or have it, or that it really belongs to you. But this is the irony of life. This is just the paradox. You wouldn't think it if it wasn't achievable. You couldn't not have it if you didn't actually want it. So if you in wanting something, desiring something, it's meant for you. It's just whether or not you believe it too. And right now, I feel like what most of us humans are facing is simply ourselves. We're being shown ourselves outside of ourselves. Every relationship is a mirror, because the relationship you have with another is affording you the gift of seeing yourself through their eyes, is seeing how you relate to yourself. If they're rejecting you, that's a reflection of you rejecting you. If they are able to show up to you, that's you showing up to you. If someone is lying to themselves, they're going to lie to you too. And also equally, if someone is lying to you and you accept their lie, ooh, that's you lying to yourself too. You're not trusting what you intuitively know is a lie. A lie is simply not being authentic, having the courage to be vulnerable. And if you can look at the word lie, if you can consider that, the sadness that is surrounding the word lie, the fear of being seen for your allness, the idea that you would have to withhold that by lying for whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. Whatever the lie is irrelevant. A lie is simply manipulation to try to steer things in your control. It's the fear of rejection. It's the fear of abandonment. It's the fear of not being accepted. A lie is, I can't tell you the truth because that means I would expose myself. I would reveal my vulnerability. I would actually have to be courageous to tell the truth. Le cœur, exposing my heart. Courage is exposing your heart. So where we are in simply acknowledging and facing ourselves is claiming our allness, our truth. It's not another person's responsibility to do what we need to do for ourselves. And what I mean by that, I mean claiming it's another person's fault or that you're the victim of circumstances or the way someone is treating you is disregarding and literally disrespecting yourself, because you're not taking personal accountability and responsibility. You choose this or that. You chose this or that. Whatever it is you choose is your superpower. You have control with every choice you make as an adult. Nobody forces you. You may try to play that card. Oh, well, I had no choice. You always have a choice. Even when you think you don't have a choice and you don't make a choice, you made a choice. But owning that is the first step to reclaiming your power, instead of playing into the victimhood mentality or the story that's disempowering you from the start. So just own the choice you made instead of choosing to become the victim. We all have circumstances in our lives that have been disempowering because when we were younger, we did not have the choice like an adult. We were under the supervision of an adult. So, and I've said this before, but as children, we wished, oh, I want to be an adult so that I can make choices for myself, so I can continue to play uninhibited and in my own time, to have that access and control. Oh, Mom, I want to stay outside longer. No, it's time to come in. Or I want to play with my toys longer. You know, when we're young, we don't see it as a major, well, as an adult, we don't think it was so traumatizing, but as a child that is really deeply immersed, involved in being creative and exploring, to not have control over that can actually trigger a crisis in your adulthood. And you may not even realize it. It may have created survival skills and coping mechanisms within you in order to feel that you had control that are totally outgrown. You wanted to always be able to do something of your choosing, and then you become an adult and like, you're not the boss of me, and then you become oppositional defiance in the face of anybody who offers or suggests you do something beyond their own request or desire. These are things we have to personally confront in ourselves, because if we don't confront it in ourselves, someone else will confront it in us. That is the nature of energy. People are going to show up to you and match your energy. If you are disregarding and not taking personal accountability or responsibility in your life, somebody will challenge that in your life. And you may not realize it, and you may not see it in the way that they are doing it, because you may be still stuck in a victimhood story of people do this to me. This always happens to me. But you can always change that story, because words cast spells, and the words you choose matter. See what I said there? The mind is the constructor, the builder of the stories. It is really the magician in the mind. If you allow that magician to get out of hand with the stories and you cast those spells, you're reinforcing every time you tell, hi, I am the victim of my story. This continually happens. When did you decide that was true? And why are you still telling that story if you don't want it to be true? If you simply want to change your life, change the words you use, change the stories you tell, and create a new spell. Because you ultimately have the power, the magic in your own mind. And it's up to you to decide, is this what I want? Is this what I want, really, truly? And if you never confront that, or you're never mindful enough to be in awareness of the program, the storyline, all the dialogue that goes on when you are just moving through life, this is why we slow down, to listen, to really hear deeply what is going on in the back of my mind. What is my program? What is my driver? What is my story? What is my belief system? What are my biases? What are my promoting beliefs? What are my demoting beliefs? What is it in me that is creating my reality? Because you are the creator of your reality. It's all energy, vibration, and frequency. Words have vibration and frequency and energy. And so therefore, the currency of your thoughts, literally currency, the money, this is the money. Follow me with this. You are literally paying for your experiences through the thoughts that you think and the stories you create. So when you cast that spell, know that this is the bank. The magician is the mind, and the mind is also a bank. So you always have a choice, and you can always change. There is no mistake. There are must-takes. A mistake is simply a choice, and then you make another choice, and you have changed the trajectory. So what you may think is a mistake is continuous. If you stop there and don't make another choice, which essentially is a choice, you are always making choices. Choice, choice, unlimited choices. That is what this human life is filled with. You have unlimited choices. How beautiful is that? That's incredible. Like, I'm over here going, really? Yet we as adults have forgotten how to play. And we're still choosing to play these wag the dog games, play with the matrix, engage in its trauma show, believing it, especially in this day and age of AI. Are you kidding me? Talk about perfect timing. Let's unleash AI so people have no clue what's real, and then they'll actually still think things are real, and we can get them with emotional heartstrings. We can, 5 senses, baby. They get you through the 5 senses. It's basic psychology. There is nothing new under the sun. There is nothing novel about it. It's all sales. It's all marketing. Sales marketing is all about teaching you to follow them and along with their game. Who's got the best marketing? I don't care if it's politics. I don't care if it's sports. I don't care if it's fashion. Who can really draw you in? The biggest, the latest, this, that, whatever. It's all a show. But you get to choose what you participate in. Because where attention goes, energy flows. And again, I'm going to say this, repetition is the key to mastery. So if you are engaging in the same things over and over and over again, it becomes like second nature, and you never question if it's yours or another's. Is it even your reality? Or have you handed over your power to believe in it? Are you the extra in their show, or are you the star of your own show? Because everything we're seeing around us is a preview of the coming attractions, but most people aren't listening. They're not paying attention, and they're not believing it. Or they are believing it. So it's kind of that paradox, right? So tell me how we can talk about the elephant in the room. Politics. Let's just use that, okay? Politics. Many ticks, many parasites, feeding off of you, off of your energy, harvesting, looshing. The reality of it all, it's a corporation. If you just do your research, we don't select, we don't elect. We pledge allegiance as a dead citizen, because ultimately that's what they created with us. And people are starting to wake up to this, that we are literally in this little game. We are pawns in their Ponzi scheme, traded on the stock market just like chattel. DC stands for dead citizen. And do you know you're not really a citizen unless you reside or were born within that small area? And that is the corporation. Go look it all up. Don't listen to me. Don't take my word for it. Do the research. Just search. All the information's out there, but few people are willing to actually take the time to look for what's right in front of them. All along, it's in your face. And they tell us the truth. It's literally in front of you. They tell you what they're going to do, but they don't follow through. And so is it no surprise that people are still trying to make a story around, oh, well, they didn't do this because of that? Really? You don't even freaking know. You're making up a story. You're making up a story as you go. And you're continuing to follow along with things that don't matter to your actual life. Because this is what I call the Wizard of Oz. It's a distraction. Keep your attention over here. Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain, what's really going on. I posted a video the other day. We know that this mind control system has been extremely effective, really effective. And as I was discussing with Dr. Juan Forfor, that questions. People who are willing to ask questions are also willing to go on a quest. You know, we joke about the terrible twos with children, but that's a duality, two, right? Two is when they're asking, why? I was that child. I know many of us were. And when you continue to ask questions and they get annoyed with you, they proceed to try to brush you off with, because I said so. It's just that way. Dismissing, but not answering. So there's a duel going on. There's a jousting. It's a power grab. It's a control thing. But the child's just inquisitive because that's the nature of a child learning at those stages and those ages. And we should never lose that childlike wonder and curiosity. I still ask a lot of questions, and I always have. And usually that triggers people who don't have answers but want to be seen as an authority. So when you ask them questions they can't answer, they get defensive. And all that is revealing is their inability to own the fact that they don't know. They want to be seen as an authority, and then they will turn around and become a bully, or they will be, passive aggressive in their response. But we are here for growth. We are here for experience. We're here to expand. I don't believe we're here to go along to get along with their plan, if that means anything. But anyone who says what they say is true isn't true. They're just proving they'll believe anything that goes against their addiction to their belief system, which is simply an outdated operating system that needs to be upgraded. So like what you see out on the world stage is just bread and circus, baby. Bread is for the sedation. The circus is for the entertainment trainment. If you can be sedated enough, then you can be easier to infiltrate your five senses. This is anything from sugar, processed grains, because grains are really not good for the brain, grain, wheat belly, and it's dehydrating for the body. If you have to add water, you have to process it. That's processed food. I know everybody wants to say, oh, that's not processed. Our forefathers and everybody were eating bread and this, that, and the other. I'm like, to me, it doesn't make sense. You would not go out and take a stalk of wheat and eat it. So the extremism of the actual processing, this is my personal belief. Don't listen to me. Do what you want to do every once in a while. We have our things. We have our little, food cravings and our comfort foods. But if you have to add water to it, it's going to take and steal it from your body. It's going to dehydrate you. It's going to sedate you. So you have sugar, processed sugar. We're not talking about the honey from the bees or the maple syrup from the trees. We're talking about the sugars that basically caramelized, which means they had to be heated into a higher temperature. Yes, that means cane sugar too, unless you're drinking the cane juice is a different form, or the sugar from actual fruit that's fresh. Whenever we change its molecular makeup, we break it down, make it into a juice. We are concentrating it. So we wouldn't necessarily in nature do that. But we've taken it to the extreme with a lot of things. So when your processed foods are consisting of the things that will give you the dopamine hit, put you in a sedated state. I mean, sugar is a really big one because what do you think alcohol is? Alcohol is sugar. And so that's why they said the bread in the circus, the wine back in those times, because those are the ways that the spirits open you up to things entering you, whether it's the power of suggestion or a behavior. Because you don't know, sometimes when you're under the influence, think about that. That's why they call it under the influence. Because the spirits have taken over. They have entered you and you gave permission. So why wouldn't you be more ritualistic in the sense of an honoring if you're going to do it? Things like alcohol was meant for extracting the essence of the plants, for let's say Bach essences, or even just making tinctures. You weren't meant to drink the whole freaking bottle. You were just taking a small amount. But see, this is where the world is in excess. And that's where a lot of this alcoholism has come from, is taking things in excess because of the numbing of the pain and then chasing the dopamine hit again and again. You numb the pain, you're going to constantly chase the high. Because at some point you were able to experience it and you're chasing it over and over again. Because when you have a depressant, you need a stimulant. And then the same thing, some people will take a stimulant and then they need to be, a depressant too. And what you do, it will enhance what's going on within you. And I say this because like I haven't had coffee in a while, and I love the taste of coffee. I love the smell, the aroma. It's an experience for me. And I decided to take some time off of it because I notice sometimes it tenses up my joints and my muscles, especially my jaw. And there are times when I have had coffee when I was in an agitated state or maybe hyped up. It enhanced that state because coffee is a stimulant. If you're already stimulated, whether it's in a bad mood or a good mood, that's going to enhance. It's going to exacerbate it because it is a stimulant. And it's the same thing with the depressant like alcohol. Whether you're in a bad mood or a good mood, it's going to enhance that. One goes up and one goes down. Choices. Choice is your superpower. Hello, gaining wisdom. Yes, this is just some of the stuff that I reflect upon quite often because of my own personal experience. And I see it around me. And just for example, yesterday I had to run out to do a couple little errands and I really didn't want to leave the house, but I was like, I got to get this taken care of. It'll make me feel better. Just in that little loop that I made, whew, I could see people felt the need. Like there were people out that felt, and you could feel the energy, like they knew they needed to get out of their environment. Something in them felt like they had to change and switch up their environment. But the problem is they were not in their bodies grounded. It's like zombies running around like, doe-eyed, knowing they needed to step out of wherever they were, yet they were entering spaces where they were disengaged. They weren't present. They weren't here. Great example of numbing out. Their way to numb out was to leave whatever was going on wherever they were, and they didn't set the intention to be present, to ground into their physical body. When you play the escapism, when you try to eject out of your body, it's not a good thing. That's when accidents occur. I mean, I saw crazy driving everywhere, got cut off a couple times. I was like, whoo, this was really, it's scary. But it's all choice. But setting the intention is the key. And when you're in mindful awareness of your own program, thoughts, stories, then every time you come into awareness that, oh, I heard this thought, I heard this story, you have to confront it. The more you do that, the more you shift it. Just being in the awareness of it gives you the opportunity to choose to change it. Oh, that story's running. Oh, wait a minute here. That doesn't apply anymore. And then you write another story, or you think another thought to shift it. Well, what do I want to put in its place? What do I want to replace that story with? Because I don't believe that story. It keeps popping up because it wants to test you. It is always a test. That's what thoughts are. That's what experiences in life are. A test to see if you're present. That is a gift. Because in that gift is an opportunity to backstep into the old way of doing things, the way you've been doing things, the definition of crazy and karma. Or standing up tall and saying, not today, Satan. We're moving on in another direction. There's a fork in the road. You can continue down the same familiar road because you'll get that same familiar experience. Or you can go, that didn't work for me. The various times I've done it in the past, I'm going to try a new way. I'm going to shift this in a different direction. Mind-blowing. And the irony of blowing your own mind is you get to change the neurons that fire together and wire together. So here's a little tip from Lana's toolbox. To me, it is secondary. It is my nature. But it imprints the knowledge into your being, into every cell of your being, into gnosis. No matter what, this is what I do. Especially right now, we got a lot of light codes and energy coming down. We're getting upgrades and downloads, and dreams are off the charts. I know they are for me. During this time, even if you're researching and learning, which I'm doing all of the things, right? You also need to integrate that into your physical body so that it's in your cells and you're embodying it. This is just a simple little thing that I do for myself. It's why I go to the gym. This is the reason for moving your body. If you don't exercise physically, how can you actually integrate anything from up here? It needs to sift down into your body. It needs to become a part of you. In order for you to create new patterns, neural pathways, you also need to take the knowledge, the whatever it is you've just learned, and apply it. You also need to, I love to talk about it. I will share things with my friends. They're like, and I'm like, listen, I'm saying it because repetition is a key to mastery. So if I say it and I share it with you, it's because I'm reinforcing it within me. Now, going to the gym, this is all mental work. You're getting downloads, you're getting all of this, the light codes, the upgrades, the information, you're doing the research, you're just soaking everything in like a sponge up here. But you need to move it through the body too. So what I do to embody it into every cell of my being is I will take a break, go to the gym, because that mental work also needs to be integrated and applied for it to be matter, because the mind makes matter. And those neurons that fire together will wire together. So moving the body, crossing the hemispheres of the body and the brain, like when you do things that cross the midline, that also allows the synapses to entrain in the brain. So when we take in that information, in order for it to stick, we need to move our physical body to imprint that knowledge into the gnosis that becomes our wisdom. It could be as simple as taking a walk and just reflecting upon what it is you were just learning, receiving, reflecting upon. For me, Friday was one of those days. I had something drop in that I just didn't see coming, thought I was good with, I thought I was over it. And I'm like, Capricorn moon, that's my natal moon. And an individual who happens to sit in my moon, which is the 4th house for me. And I was like, wow, okay. Hi, Assam. So in knowing that stuff is coming up for us, moving the body allows us to shake and move things through. Because if you don't move it, you'll lose it. And what I mean by if you don't move it, you'll lose it, I mean if you don't move your body, the flexibility, the malleability, the energy gets stuck, you need to move the energies through so that you can actually have that wisdom as a part of you. That's the imprint. That it lodges, but not, it doesn't stay stuck. Whereas if you stay stuck and you sit on your chair all day and you're wondering, why am I not in the greatest mood? Because you're not out in nature. And nature will reinforce your own nurturing nature. So you take a walk and you reflect and you think about it, and guess what? More stuff will drop in. And the repetition and the mastery of movement will reinforce the imprint of your blueprint. That will bring all of that into an inner state. Hi, infinite knowing. I'm good, Dad's good. Anyway, because the truth is that you're just tapping into resources that exist within you. You're tapping into the gnosis of you. You may receive something, but it already existed in you. We think it all comes from without, but it's all from within. So even the awareness and the blueprints and the imprint of the new codes and the upgrades and the gnosis is having to come from within us. It doesn't come from outside of us. It just appears outside of us to reinforce that it actually was within us. Does that sound clear? Again, I'm going to say, the moment you see it show up to you outside of you, you know it's because it exists within you. Don't reject it. Accept it. Embrace it. And that's the good and the bad too. Don't label it good or bad either, because believe it or not, even in the times when we thought something was bad, it led to something really good. Quando si chiude una porta, si apre una poltrona. When one door closes, an even bigger one opens. My favorite saying in Italian. And then there's a Neapolitan saying that's non mi passa manca pa capa. It's like floss that doesn't even pass through my ears. When someone says something and you're like, psh. And then just reminding yourself, if you're willing to confront the things that you think are outside of yourselves, outside of you is within you. If you dislike what you see outside of you, you take a moment and you go, what is it about that I dislike, that I'm dissing in myself, that I don't like? What is that showing me? A mirror reflection always, that I need to confront and embrace and not reject. Because again, what you reject will be rejected in you, by you and others, until you recognize and accept it as it is and not try to change it. Most of the times people think that by accepting something, they're not going to get rid of it, that it's never going to go away, that it's a bad thing, but I'm accepting it and it's not a part of what I want. Well, guess what? In the awareness of it, the acknowledgement, in the awareness and the acknowledgement of it, you are giving it an opportunity to resolve and dissolve. Let me say that again. In the awareness and acceptance of it, you're seeing it. All it needs is your attention. You're giving it an opportunity to resolve and dissolve, because you didn't address it before and it started to express itself even more outside and around you, that in the moment you start to see it and stop trying to avoid it. It softens. If you think it's a boogeyman or a monster and you look at it, you shed the light, as they say, you shine the light on the darkness and the darkness cannot hide. It starts to kind of like, the big bad boogeyman, the monster, isn't so scary anymore. Because then it's like looking back at you like, thank you for seeing me. I appreciate that. That's all they need. Most of the times, where attention goes, energy flows. If you just give it some energy, it will flow and it will go. But until you address it, it will continue to express, and then you have a big old mess. I'm not trying to rhyme today. It's just flowing through me. This is the way Spirit is guiding. And we are all capable of doing that. So don't ever think that you don't have the gift of gab, the gift of flow and poetry too. The big old monster is a part of you too. We got dark, we got light, we got a devil and an angel on our shoulders. Nobody said you couldn't own and accept them. And stop giving all the attention to these books and these stories and these rules and these laws and the blah, 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 blah. Just feel within you what feels right. Because when you trust in yourself, you'll learn to trust others. When I say trust others, you'll know who to trust. Ah, I see that because I see it in me. When I own it in me, I see it in you too. When I own my shit, I can see your shit too. That's how it works. When I own my greatness, I can see your greatness too. I want to compliment you. I don't want to take you down. Yeah. Yeah, it flows because you got your body on the go. That's a true story. If a person withholds from another, it's really only because they can't hold themselves. Think about that. This was something I have been healing with the masculine for myself, which is a beautiful unfolding. You know, I love my dad. I love him so much, I got upset with him. And I was upset because he wasn't the father I wished he'd have been when I was younger. And I expressed to him one day, I'm grateful you're my father because you're the catalyst and the reason that it lit a fire under my ass to acknowledge the things that I wished for, that I desired, that I felt I needed, that I also recognized and learned to have compassion, that even though that's what I wanted and that's not what I got at the time growing up, it didn't mean I wouldn't get it. It's just that sometimes you have to look at the person, accept their limitations, and by accepting their limitations, you're not choosing your struggle and your suffering by resisting it. If you expect someone to show up to you a certain way and then they don't, now you're playing the victim to your own expectation and addiction, to needing it to look and to feel and all the things the way you wanted it to. That's what addiction is. That's another form of addiction. If your expectations are here and people don't meet them, the only one you have to blame is you with your expectation, especially with people that have proven time and time again they can't meet it. So why are you holding that expectation? That's the definition of insanity and crazy and karma. You expecting the same thing over and over again, not making a change on your part, but then get mad at the other person for not meeting that expectation. It's not their fault. You're the one who projected that shit onto them. So in my case, I looked at my father and I said, Dad, I love you. And I'm grateful you're the reason I came to this conclusion that I'm recognizing that the things that I wished you could have done for me wasn't because you couldn't do them for me. It was because you couldn't even do them for yourself. You couldn't meet yourself in those ways. How could I expect you to also extend that out to me? So this is something I was writing and reflecting upon earlier, and it's kind of a play on words. But think about it. If you're not full of it, you won't feel you can fulfill it. Almost sounds like saying, oh, you're full of it. If you're not full of what it is you need, there's no way you're going to be able to fulfill it externally. If you're withholding from someone, it's because you can't hold yourself. And that's a control mechanism because you don't know how to take care of yourself. You can't do it for another. You can't extend yourself where you can't hold yourself. That you have to have a full cup to be able to pour from. That if you lie to yourself, you're going to lie to another. And that person who accepts your lie is lying to themselves, because like attracts like. And that's just the fear of being seen in your vulnerability, in your allness, in all your pain, in all your glory. Lies are just fear of being seen. And the idea that if I say something that they want to hear, that they won't reject me, that they'll accept me, that I can also manipulate and control the situation in my favor of staying protected. We all do things like this to a certain degree, and sometimes it's just out of survival tactics. And again, you have to confront those. You have to look at it and go, is this still serving me? Am I really still doing this? What is your behavior? And are you still continuing to do crazy? Because you can't expect others around you to change if you don't make a change. That's that vicious cycle of chasing your own tail. That you doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is the reason there is no difference in the result. That's why you keep experiencing the same thing over and over again. And I was listening to Michael Mirdad earlier today, and he said, believe, be and live, believe, be and live, or it's be or leave. So you can be and you can live. Beingness. You can be or you can leave. It's beautiful. My mom says my name here on YouTube is too graphic. Smelly knuckles. You're clever. Hey, you know, this is part of our experience. Sometimes we're looking for attention, so we create a title or a name for ourselves because we're seeking attention, right? So sometimes that's the only reason that a person would come up with that type of name, to get a laugh, which is a form of attention, right? So what was your reason for choosing that title, Smelly Knuckles? Was it to get attention because you wanted to laugh? There's something in there for you, I'm sure. So again, I'm just going to go back to, ultimately, if you are continuing to expect, place, and project all of your expectations of how a person should show up to you. And I'm not saying you shouldn't hold something, but you have to hold yourself to it too. You can't just assume it's everyone outside of you. It starts with you. If you have an idea that someone else can do something for you, that's the root cause of the human struggle and suffering. The idea that you need to show up to me a certain way, or it's your fault I feel this way. That's a bunch of bogus bullshit. That's belief systems, BS. And I've been guilty of this quite often in my past, probably more often than I want to consider. Because sometimes that's what we need, is to be faced with our own shit. And once you face your shit, it doesn't smell so bad anymore. You won't have smelly knuckles. So I hope that sparks something within you. I feel like basically you get to choose to change your story or embrace the glory. That's another way to say that you can create that story. Yeah. There's a gift in it all, and you just need to learn to balance it out. Remember, your words cast spell with the stories you tell. And that's enough for me. Lots of love. Just be mindful of what's going on within you. Really tap into your heart and soul and recognize with real eyes, cognize, third eye wise, that you are the creator of your reality. I see you. So much love from my heart to yours. Be safe.